Good day, ladies and gentlemen. How's it going? DishNet34, Rob Tomlins here, along with our good buddy Paul Sporer, the Out of the Park Baseball Perfect Team Content Director, welcoming you to episode number 216 of This Week in Perfect Team for Immortal Seasons set number 1. Paul, this is an exciting day today.
Very, very exciting. We got a brand new set, some really, really fun cards, an overarching program that's going to go several weeks, some new art, lots to get into. I'm very, very excited.
Yeah, I'm excited too today. We've got a lot to go over today, but man, oh man, this week has been something else for a lot of us. And, you know, it's great that y'all are here today, ready to go. I know I've had a bit of a stressful week myself, but, you know, everything's looking pretty good. Yeah, there's gonna be some new art too as well. That's gonna be pretty fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's like one of the key factors. I'm huge on art with cards. You know, you and I were talking offline on MLB The Show. There were times I would get cards specifically because the art was great. So I love seeing what the art team's been able to do, and that's one of my favorite parts about this set. So in addition to great cards, they're gonna look pretty too.
Yeah, and in addition to great cards and great art, there's also a great service that we love to have around for like looking up these stats, because a lot of these are built on just like fantastic seasons in baseball history. And, you know, we have to thank our good friends over at StatHead Baseball, powered by Baseball Reference, and you can use code 23OOTP25 for $25 off an annual baseball or all sport subscription. That is freaking fantastic. It's a fantastic deal. I'm a subscriber. Me too. Yeah, you are too. That's awesome. That's awesome. And you know, it's a fantastic service. You know, you can put in anything you want. You can like do like how many homers that somebody have between this point and this point or anything like that, and it'll spit it out for you. It's freaking
You can
fantastic.
do splits too. You know, who's the best guy against lefties from 74 to 82 type of thing, X number of play. Like you can do so much. And for me, situation, you know, Rob, where our jobs kind of make it obvious for us. Oh, yeah. But I think even as just a huge baseball fan, like if you're somebody who's out there chatting up about baseball in different circles like OOTP circles or fantasy baseball circles, I think it's valuable even if you're just a huge baseball nut or sports nut, because as you all often point out, you can get it for other sports too. Obviously, we're baseball focused here, but if you like other sports, StatHead has the other sports covered too.
Oh yeah, baseball, hockey, football, basketball, just a lot of sports. I don't know when they're going to do pickleball though, because I mean, that's the sport that's sweeping the nation too, but
that's true. We got to get that data going there.
Yeah, come on, Sports Reference, get on it.
You want to be the leader in sports, we got to get the pickleball splits data.
Exactly. Curling, that would be fun to get some curling stats in there too, you know, get that
Loved curling. As a kid, you know, I'm old, so we didn't have cable on every TV. The TV my sister and I got to watch was just whatever channels you could get. We could get CBC. We watched a lot of random winter curling because it was a fun, interesting sport that we had no idea about. So we eventually just learned it by watching a whole bunch on CBC back in the day.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I'm hoping to learn a little bit about actually playing curling someday, but I digress. StatHead Baseball, powered by Baseball Reference. You can save $25 off an annual baseball or all sports subscription with code 23OOTP25 at checkout. The offer expires December 31st, 2023. All right. Well, without further ado, without further curling talk, as good as it may be, let's go to the big show today. Immortal Seasons 1, the start of a brand new content program based on some of the best seasons in Major League Baseball history. Now, Paul, let's talk a little bit about like the background of this set, because, you know, we've been trying to highlight some really good individual seasons all year long, and some peak cards as well. What went into, you know, kind of putting together this set?
I mean, right as you said there, highlighting individual great seasons. And, peak cards are wonderful, but I think we're in a situation this year where the peak card isn't always going to be a player's best card, right? Because sometimes somebody can have, a great peak, but their single best season comes out even better than that. There's kind of flexibility with peak cards, but I think the general principle has always been, oh, peak equals best card. That's not necessarily the case. Particularly this year, and with the Immortal Seasons set, you're going to see some of these guys with their best season ever putting out their best card. They might even have a peak card already, and you're like, well, they wouldn't get an Immortal Seasons. And then, yes, they do, because they have a single season that really tops that. So I like highlighting the best seasons out there, create some different player shapes and types, and I think this was a great way to highlight some of the best seasons the game's ever seen.
Yeah, and like you said, a lot of players have good peaks, but maybe there's like one season in that peak that really stands out above the rest, and that's kind of, maybe what we're going for here.
Exactly.
Definitely. Well, let's go ahead and talk about what exactly this program is and what it entails. So, Immortal Seasons is a brand new program with packable cards and missions that revolve around notable seasons from different eras of baseball history. Now, the program is based on the eras of baseball as defined by OOTP. There's going to be 7 of them. We'll go over that here in just a little bit. With each set that we will have introducing cards from all the different eras. So there's quite a few main objectives to this program, and I'll go ahead and take us off the screen just really quickly so you can see the full kind of wording here. So basically, you guys will be collecting cards by era for toppers throughout the program. And eventually going to be collecting hitters across the eras for a major topper, collecting the pitchers across the eras for a major topper, and collecting era toppers for an ultimate topper. Paul, this is some pretty cool stuff right here.
Yeah, it's a detailed program. We're kind of laying the groundwork this week. You're going to see cards across all the eras to kind of get you started. And then the second period, we'll have the first set of toppers. We'll have another few toppers down the line there. And then, like you said, the ultimate toppers there. And you'll kind of know what you're collecting for, right? You're going to understand, okay, I'm going to collect hitters because I want this guy. I want to collect everything because I want to get the ultimate card. So we're going to lay it all out. It looks like a lot right now because it is. It's an overarching program that is meant to kind of help really redefine teams over the course of the 4 weeks that they're going to come out. It's not 4 weeks in a row, but over the course of the 4 week span, I believe it encompasses about 2 months of time between now and the end there. So I'm really excited to see how this goes, and I think people are going to enjoy it, chasing these cards and focusing on the particular eras that they like best.
Yeah, definitely. And to kind of put this in more of a visual sense, oh god, it's me and flowcharts again, but this time it's a better one. It's a better one. I actually put effort into this one to kind of show you what the program is going to entail. So let's go ahead and take a look at that here real quick, and I'll go ahead and take ourselves off screen here again. So there are 7 different tracks you guys can take. You have Dead Ball, you have Rebirth, you have Golden Years, you have the Boom Era, Defensive Track, Power Track, Modern Track, and there's going to be, and every set is going to have cards from each one of those eras. So you got set 1, then you got set 2 coming up, but when we release set 2, we're also going to release the topper for between sets 1 and 2. And then
exactly.
And then you'll have set 3 and set 4 a little bit down the line, and then a topper for those 2 sets, and then overall, you're going to get an era topper for each track between sets 1 and 4.
Exactly. And so again, it looks like a lot right now. It'll start to make sense as we kind of show more pieces here. You don't have to pick your track, early or have to define where you're at. You can kind of be going through and you can see, hey, I will, I've gotten 3 different Golden Years cards. Okay, that's where I'm going to focus. Or I'm a big Modern Era fan or a Dead Ball fan. Like you can kind of pick and choose. And you don't have to stay on a particular track, right? If you like the set 1-2 topper out of Rebirth, you can get that, but then maybe you pivot off of Rebirth because you don't have a need for the player that's being focused there as well. So you can mix match, go everywhere you want. I think the toppers are going to kind of determine the tracks that you want to take. And again, you'll get more clarity on some of that as we get going. Even today, even though we're only putting out 14 cards today, you're going to see some of the cards that you can be chasing to maybe start making some of your decisions.
So how many cards is this that we have to focus on anything versus normal missions? Someone asks in the chat.
How many cards is it that we have to focus on? Well, again, it kind of depends what you want to do with it. For example, there's going to be 14 cards today, and then 14 cards in the second period. 7 of those in the second period are toppers. And again, you can kind of decide, do you want to go for those? So that answer is kind of open right now. There's a lot of different avenues that you can take. So we can start to get into some of the cards here, and you can show the next slide. You can, of course, collect them all. You can go straight up Pokemon style if you want.
Yeah, you can definitely collect them all.
If you want to go to the next set, you can show kind of what the overarching program looks like too.
Yeah, so basically, if you collect the program hitters from sets 1 through 4, if you collect enough of them, you're not collecting all of them, but a certain amount of them. Yeah, it's not collect all. If you collect a certain amount of the program hitters from sets 1 through 4, you're going to get a major hitter topper. And if you collect the program pitchers from sets 1 through 4, a certain amount of those, you'll be getting a major pitcher topper as well. Now, if you collect the program toppers from sets 1 through 4, and we're saying toppers a lot, and I feel like I'm about to say something like I shouldn't be saying, but y'all are going to get a major topper.
Exactly. So again, honestly, I would say go back 2 slides real quick and go back to the 4 main objectives, because we put a lot out there.
Oh, yeah.
But if you cycle back to the 4 main objectives, I think that really streamlines what we're looking at here.
Yeah.
You collect the cards by era to get toppers that way. You collect hitters or pitchers, or you can go for the big thing. You do not have to do it. You get to pick and choose what you want based off of this. So It is a lot right now because it's a big overarching program that is brand new. So it seems like a ton, but you're going to be able to kind of dictate how you want to go through this based on the players. So I think we don't have to get too much further bogged down in that. You can show the eras, and then let's get into some of the cards.
Yes, certainly. Let's do that. Yep. And again, you can choose any path you want. You can choose them all. You can choose a few. All that good stuff. All that. So what are the different eras?
Sorry, I was going to answer Buckcheek's question about, isn't it the same as any other where you can choose? Absolutely. I'm just saying that because we're showing so much, I don't want people to think, oh, we have to do every single bit of this. You're going to be able to kind of pick and choose what you want to do. There's going to be a lot of options and avenues. So yeah, go ahead and highlight the eras here.
Yeah, definitely. So what are the different eras? Well, here's a good little listing of them. So we have the Dead Ball era, which has cards for players from 1871 up to 1920. Then you have the Rebirth era, which goes from 1921 up to 1945. Then you have the Golden Years era, which goes from 1946 up to 1960. Then you have the Baseball Boom from 61 up to 79. Then you got the Defensive era with cards from 1980 up until 1992. And then in the Power Years, you have from 1993 to 2004. And then Modern Times, which is 2005 to the present day. So there's a lot of different players that could come out of these different eras that are probably going to be pretty spicy.
Absolutely. And again, if you have certain eras that you like to focus on, you can pay attention to that track more and get the cards from there. Theme teams might appreciate that it's broken up by eras. They can go for different things if they're going with their theme team that way. So it was just an interesting way to kind of break it down. So I really kind of liked focusing on the eras, and we're going to get into the era by era cards that are being released this week too.
Yes, certainly. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through each of the different era cards. There's going to be 2 for each era that are coming out with today's set. We're going to start with the Modern Times and then kind of work our way backwards into the Dead Ball era, because there are a lot of great players that we have from each of the different eras today. Let's go ahead and get started with our first card of the day from the Modern Times collection. And I don't know if we want to call this guy, well, this guy here probably had one of the best power hitting seasons for a second baseman of all time, pretty much. And
Absolutely.
This guy is our first card of the day. We have 99 overall from the 2021 Toronto Blue Jays. It is Marcus Semien. Marcus Semien, 69 BABIP, 101 power, 80 avoid K, 96 contact, 84 gap, 69 on the eye. A little bit better against righties than he is against lefties, but look at that look at that defense over there. 95 range, 86 error, 88 arm, and 88 on the turn double play. I'm going to go ahead and take us off the screen just really quickly so y'all can see the speed, stealing, and base running. 67 speed, 104 stealing, and 97 on the base running. Man,
and we got the bats and throws, the righty there. You can see now in the tendencies, some additions there from our art team. So I want to thank the folks over there for making the slides more comprehensive. But yeah, this Semien season, in addition to the art that we talked about, it seems like chat is enjoying the art as well. I think it's such a beautiful card. But what a beautiful season he had. Remember, this was the year that they had to play in a bunch of different parks, and several of their guys took full advantage of that because they were playing in less than difficult parks for hitters, including some minor league parks. And hey, you play where you play, you take advantage of it. The stats still count the same for everyone's fantasy team and for the Jays and for OTP here. So he got a nice spicy card. It's kind of an interesting situation where he's a right killer. As a right-hander, he's not exactly tearing the cover off the ball against lefties, but instead doing his big damage against righties. You can put him up the middle there. Love Marcus Semien. He's become one of the best players in baseball and really self-made in a lot of ways. A lot of people might not remember, when he came up defensively, he was dreadful. He had no business being anywhere near the middle infield back when he was with the White Sox. He worked with Ron Washington in Oakland and really made himself into a strong fielder, not just a capable one. And he's become one of the, like I said, one of the best players in the game. Got that huge deal with Texas. Love Marcus Semien, and I wanted to highlight him here with this great card. 100%.
Yeah, this season pretty much parlayed into that mega deal with Texas in 2022. I mean, Marcus Semien. This was a prove-it year for Marcus Semien. He signed a one-year prove-it deal with Toronto this year, and he just absolutely went off.
He really just tore the cover off the ball there. And I remember that when he got the deal, people were like, well, this is like kind of a one-year prove it. That offense, again, was so great, tearing the cover off the ball in the Dunedin Park and the Buffalo Parks. And there you go. This is the result of that with this Immortal Seasons card, Marcus Semien.
Definitely. And this Immortal season, we had 265, 334, 538, 45 home runs, broke the MLB record once held by Davey Johnson for single season home runs by a second baseman. He led MLB in extra base hits that year with 86 of them, played in all 162 games, finished third in AL MVP, was an All-Star, Gold Glover, and a Silver Slugger. This card can play both second and short, which I find very fascinating, especially given the defensive ratings here, 95 range, that can play at both second and short.
Absolutely. And so I really do like that about Semien, highlighting how he turned himself into a defensive stud. So again, I think this card kind of has everything that you would want from it. Maybe a little bit better against lefties. If he had done better there, that would have been nice. But I like going against righties with Semien there. Righty, he should be able to smoke him.
Yep, there you go. So Marcus Semien from the 2021 Blue Jays is in Perfect Team 24. All right, our next card in the Immortal Seasons set, our final card from the modern day set. This guy was in the news very, very recently for quite a few reasons. But
big power.
Really big power, and really showed off that right-handed throw, I guess. I don't know how else to describe it, but either way, our next card is 100 overall from the 2017 Cleveland team. It is Jose Ramirez. Jose Ramirez, 80 BABIP, 84 power, 95 avoid K, 104 contact, 115 gap power, and 76 on the eye. Big gap power is the name of this card right here. 124 gap power against lefties, 112 gap against righties. Pretty good contact, pretty good avoid K as well, and some solid power as well.
I love Jose Ramirez. I'm a sucker for switch hitters. Obviously, we had build the lineup being all switch hitters this year, and he's one of the best the game has to offer. He packs a real punch there. Just ask Tim Anderson, as we all got to see. And he got his defense there. That's not his major strong suit these days, but back in 2017, he was still a strong defender. So you see the second and third base there, really looking strong at 110, 104. Can get you, can stopgap you at short if you need him to, and even got a little trickle of left field there, and it will be playing all the way up to that 70 in tournaments, of course. Not where you're going to play Jose Ramirez, but you got him as a middle infielder. Got some speed there, big-time contact guy. If you play in a bigger park with some alleys, he's really going to take advantage of those with the huge gap power. And I know some people love to kind of focus on playing their park tailored to their team. So again, if you do play in a more pitcher-friendly park that might have a deep outfield with some deeper alleys for doubles and triples, Ramirez could fully take advantage of that and be an extra base god for you.
Oh yeah, especially with the base running rating of a 93. That's going to really help out quite a bit. Speed and stealing aren't bad either. 73 speed, 89 stealing. He can bunt quite a bit as well. 85 sack bunt, 77 on the bunt for hit for those of you who love small ball like that. Defensively is where it really gets interesting because he can play second and third base fully trained up. He also has eligibility at shortstop and left field on the base card, which is very fascinating. 91 range, 90 error, 93 arm, and 91 turn double play on the infield. 55 range, 66 error, and 77 arm in the outfield. This defense, this could be a pretty good utility guy for a lot of people.
Absolutely. That's exactly how I hope to see Ramirez utilized, as somebody who can definitely cover multiple positions. And I think he can definitely swing it a bit too. Not huge power, so maybe toward the bottom of your lineup or a 1-2 type guy. But I do think Jose Ramirez, with the defense being as strong as it was in 17, gives him kind of that everywhere type of play as a utility guy.
Definitely, yeah. I just don't know if he can share a field with Tim Anderson on a team. I don't know if he can. I don't know if he can code that in.
By the way, I just point out to anybody who's coming in, these are all packables.
Yep. These are all packables. We won't have the toppers for these eras until the next set, which is coming out at a later date. So
no, the defensive eligibility isn't just the single season. When the card turns out from the computer, sometimes it will still include the 5% threshold. And then in a case like Ramirez, he didn't even have the 5% at left field, but he got that little trickle there just to give him that extra bit of flexibility, even though you're probably not putting him in left field unless you just have the sickest middle infield ever.
Exactly. Hey, maybe with that Marcus Semien in there, or maybe another card that's coming out later in this stream.
I like the foreshadowing there.
Yeah, some good foreshadowing there. So there you go. Jose Ramirez, 2017 year, his 91 extra base hits in this 2017 season. The second most in a season for a switch hitter ever. 91 extra base hits. That's just absolutely insane. Nuts. It actually tied an MLB record on September 3rd of 2017 against, our Detroit Tigers, that lovely 2017 Detroit Tigers squad, with 5 extra base hits, 3 doubles, and 2 fielder-assisted home runs.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I know the exact game you're talking about. I feel like he's destroyed the Tigers pretty much throughout his career. That's anecdotal, but there's certain guys. I think the one that always jumps out to a lot of Tigers fans of a certain age is Joe Creedy. He just absolutely owned the Tigers. Yeah. Jim Tomei. I think Jose Ramirez is in that class. Again, anecdotal. I don't know. I can look up the numbers for sure, but I feel like he just eats against the Tigers. And why wouldn't he? We haven't had good pitching recently. Yeah, he has a 974 OPS with 28 homers, 19 steals. He basically has a full season of work against the Tigers in 135 games.
My God.
Jeez. Unbelievable. Yeah. But anyway, that's why Ramirez is so good, and that's why he got an Immortal Seasons card, because he's been wonderful.
Yeah, definitely. 29 homers, 83 RBI, a 145 OPS plus, third in AL MVP in 2017. Jose Ramirez from Cleveland is in Perfect Team 24. All right, let's get into our next era of cards. Let's go to the power years for this one. And, well, this guy had a lot of power over at first base, and you can definitely argue that he had some power on defense as well. Ladies and gentlemen. So powerful, he won a gold glove. He won a gold glove without even playing a full season at first base, guys. Our next card of the day is 98 overall from the 1999 Texas Rangers. It is Rafael Palmeiro. 75 BABIP, 109 power, 95 avoid K, 109 contact, 74 gap, and 101 on the eye. A lot better against righties than against lefties as a left-handed batter. Look at that defense. 100%. That defense is absolutely fantastic for first base. 64 range, 100 error, 66 arm, and 59 on the turn double play. Speed, stealing, base running, and who gives a crap about that? But doesn't bunt either. Guy, Rafael Palmeiro, I mean...
He's got a hidden 125 balanced breakfast rating. If you know, you know. And yes, we did meme a little bit here with the 100 error. He only had one error. This is the year he won a Gold Glove with 28 games at first base, which was a hilarious joke. Maybe not for the person who actually deserved it, but it's always been one of those jokes that kind of epitomizes how Gold Glove voting was back in the day, that it was basically an offensive award, which seems insane to say. So I memed a little bit there, giving him a 100 error because he only made one error, and he did win a Gold Glove.
I mean, that's pretty good.
Yeah, at first base, you can get away with kind of pumping up the defense a little bit, you know, to kind of be funny. He wasn't a bad defender. It's just he didn't deserve it when he played 28 games there. And, of course, you know, he does have some enhancement situations that he had to deal with, and I don't think anybody believes that he didn't. But he was still out there putting up huge numbers, and, you know, that is reflected here. He was a great hitter, and the thing is about enhancements, as we know, they're not miracle drugs. Like, they don't turn a scrub player into a star. So you can have your issues with them. I totally understand that, but the bottom line is he was a monstrous hitter when he played, and so Rafael Palmeiro got some love here with an Immortal Seasons card.
Yeah, and this 1999 season, you know, I mean, if you just look at the statistics of this season, was pretty darn good. I mean, 324, 420, 630 with a 47 homers, 148 RBI, a 160 OPS plus, finished 5th in American League MVP voting. He was an all-star, obviously, the Gold Glove, despite 28 games at first base. Silver Slugger as well. These were career highs in a lot of categories, homers, RBI, and OPS plus in that 1999 season. So there you go. Rafael Palmeiro from the 1999 Texas Rangers is in Perfect Team 24. All right. Next up, let's go behind the plate for our next Power Years guy. And I mean, if there is a guy that has played catcher in the history of Major League Baseball that is more deserving of having a power card, I mean, being a power hitter with actually some decent-ish defense, this guy is the card for you. Ladies and gentlemen, from the 1997 Los Angeles Dodgers, it is 100 overall, Mike Piazza. Mike Piazza, 106 BABIP, 113 power, 86 avoid K, 131 contact, 88 gap power, and 85 on the eye. Man, oh man, this is a lot of power on this card right here, Paul. 115 against righties, 106 against lefties, and some pretty good BABIP against both sides too.
Incredible bat. You know, Mike Piazza, not just a power-only guy, a guy up there getting his hits, real complete hitter, one of the best hitters ever. Of course, one of the greatest stories as what, like a 66th, 64th round pick? I forget what it was. We don't even have those rounds anymore. Done as a favor, turns into one of the best catchers ever. Defense never really his strong suit, but he's somewhat in that kind of Josh Gibson range. They have the same 80 ability. Gibson's arm's a little bit better, but here's another big bat. If you prefer more of the huge bat, now you have another option with Gibson, between Gibson and Piazza, if you want to pair that with like a high defensive guy. I've seen people saying that they go like Gibson Mathis or Gibson Dickey, so you get the huge hitting for most of your games, and then you have the big defensive sub come in. You can do the same with Piazza if you don't have Gibson, and you go with a Dickey and a Mathis to back him up, because I know some people want to get that big offense out of their catcher. Mike Piazza certainly brings that.
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to be interesting to see, you know, now that Mike Piazza will be in the game. I mean, given his stats, it's very comparable to a guy like Josh Gibson.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this guy can absolutely tear the cover off the ball. And because that contact is there, and obviously the contact is made up of multiple components there with the BABIP and the avoid K, but that's such a driving force there that it does kind of make up for some of the power deficiency between the two, because Gibson definitely has the edge in power, but then you look and it's a 9-point edge in contact for Piazza. So he's got the bigger BABIP. They have the same avoid K and a 10-point eye advantage for Piazza too. So it's you know, there's some balancing there. If you want the raw pure power, Gibson's your guy. If you want more of a complete bat, I think Piazza has very much a case there if you're going for hitting behind the dish.
Yep. Catcher ability of 80, catcher arm of 72, speed, stealing, base running, not the greatest in the world either. Sack bunt for hit, just don't do it. Mullet rating, 128 on the mullet rating, and get the frosted tips in there as well. Just, you know, the card art should have had that, but you know.
Killer mustache too.
And the mustache. Oh God, the mustache. Yes.
Yeah, Piazza had it, man. He had swag on 100 for sure.
Oh yeah, 100%. 10 outfield range, 1 error, and 9 outfield arm as well. If you need him in a pinch in the outfield, I mean, he can certainly, you know, stand out there like the statues on Easter Island and just kind of, you know, sit down in the grass, pick some flowers.
Somebody asked why the outfield even shows on somebody like this. It just defaults to show it with the slides. I don't think it's set on, like, if it's a catcher, it only shows that. It's just the way the slide maker works.
Yeah, just...
We're not putting it there because you would ever even consider putting him in the outfield.
Exactly. So there you go. Mike Piazza, 40 homers season, 362, 431, 638 on the slash line. Just a nuts stat line right there. 124 RBI in the 1997 season, 185 OPS plus, led MLB in OPS plus and offensive wins above replacement. And this 40 homer season, tied for the second highest single season homer total by a catcher in the 1990s. Only second to the guy he replaced with the New York Mets, Todd Hundley.
Todd Hundley, what a monster. We have that baseball reference card of him as a switch hitting catcher. That's been a pretty fun card. I've used him in some tournaments, but yeah, Piazza, man, just unbelievable as a hitter. And, you know, not as bad defensively as his reputation. I'm not going to sit here and pretend he was good. I'm not even sure we could come up with a card that has even, like, you know, 90 ability. 80 is probably the high, but he was viewed by many as like the worst catcher behind the dish that you could have. But just some of his later years were pretty crummy with the Mets. But other than that, he was a decent enough catcher, and that's why he stayed back there so long.
Definitely, yeah. Mike Piazza, pretty good guy. 1997 LA Dodgers. He is in perfect team 24. All right. Next up, let's go to the next era, shall we? The defensive era. Now, we don't have a whole lot of, like, defensive cards in the defensive era today, but...
Not today, yeah.
Not today. But this next guy, you know, big power guy, big speed guy as well, a very historic season from this particular era, ladies and gentlemen, from the 1988 Oakland Athletics. That's right, we're going to Oakland, baby. It is 98 overall, right fielder, Jose Canseco. Canseco, 97 BABIP, 114 power, 54 avoid K, 111 contact, 92 gap, and 85 on the eye. Big power against lefties. He's going to strike out quite a bit. I'm going to go ahead and take us off screen here real quick so we can show off the speed, stealing, and base running here. 84 speed, 87 stealing, 85 base running. Some decent defense in right field. He can learn left field as well if y'all want to train him up out there. 71 range, 82 error, 97 outfield arm. Ladies and gentlemen, the first 40-40 season in MLB history.
Unbelievable stuff out of Jose Canseco there. Going 40-40 like that. I still remember collecting a Panini sticker book, and I think they had a little feature on his 40-40 season there. Just an unreal year. You know, and obviously, we talked about it with Paul Merrill having some enhancements. Jose Canseco's obviously the poster boy for that. Wrote the book on it. But just an absolute stud of a player unlike anything we'd ever seen. When he was holding the bat, it looked like a freaking toothpick up there. And, you know, his peak was truly amazing, enhanced or otherwise. Just such a transcendent hitter, and being with McGuire there as the Bash brothers, I cannot imagine trying to face those two, especially as a left-hander going into those two right-handers. And yeah, the defense is not the strongest at 71 range, but at least he'll throw a bunch of guys out for you, and hopefully he makes up for it at the dish with the 114 pop.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, this guy right here is gonna hit a lot of dingers, more than likely. 307, 391, 569 on his slash slide in 1988, 42 homers, 124 RBI, 40 stolen bases. He was the MVP of the 1988 season, won the Silver Slugger, was an all-star as well, and led MLB in homers, RBI, slugging, and OPS plus with a 170, which is pretty darn good. Does having Canseco in the field automatically drop your pitcher's home run rating by a few points?
Oh yeah, because he's gonna headbutt some over there.
Exactly. I'm still proud of that LE card art for the.
It was fantastic. It absolutely was. Yeah, I see some people asking, he went 40-40 and his, stealing and speed aren't off the charts. Well, keep in mind that he wasn't leading the league with 40. I think he was like 15th in the league. Ricky still had 93. So, you're probably not going to get 40 steals off of this based on where it's at. But relative to the year, that's where the speed and stealing come out. So I totally get that. But 40 back then wasn't the way it is today. 40 right now really kind of moves the needle. Well, I guess this year's a little different too with the new SB rules. But back in the day, there were two guys over 80, Vince Coleman and Ricky Henderson. Gerald Young, anybody remember him? 65, 57 for Ozzie, and then 3, 6, 9 guys that had 40 plus. So that's why it's not an off the charts speed and stealing numbers for Canseco.
Yep. Definitely. So there you go. Jose. Wait, I need to reference the lonely one. Jose. But I'm not Mark. So there you go. Jose Canseco from the 1988 Oakland Athletics is in Perfect Team 24. That was just a forced reference to Lonely Island. I apologize.
It's worth it.
Worth it. All right, Jose Canseco in Perfect Team 24. All right, we did get a question in the chat a little bit earlier about whether or not we're getting any pitchers today in this set. Well, I'm glad you asked, because our next player is going to be a pitcher from this era, and we're talking maybe one of the more dominant relieving seasons in baseball during this period. The defensive era, obviously, going from, 1980 to 1992. Let's stick in 1984 for this next one. And we go to our team, the Detroit Tigers, for this one, baby. For 100 overall left-handed closer, Willie Guillermo Hernandez. 110 stuff, 112 movement, 100 home run rating, 105 perfect, pitcher BABIP, 86 control. Look at the splits against lefties here. 104 stuff, 126 movement, 115 homer, 100 pitcher BABIP, 94 control. But the splits against righties, really good as well. 112 stuff, 108 movement, 92 home run rating, 107 pitcher BABIP, 83 control. My goodness, this guy, maybe one of the best left-handed relievers in the game at this point?
Absolutely. I mean, obviously he won the Cy and MVP, which I agree with chat, shouldn't have won the MVP. I don't really ever see a reliever valuable enough to win the MVP. I'm not even sure they should win the Cy Young, to be quite honest. But that's neither here nor there. He won both. It was an amazing year. Throwing 140 innings as a reliever was a big deal. He got 51 stamina here. And that Scroogey makes him a bit more, a little less heavy splitty. And so, yes, you're still way better against lefties there, but capable enough against righties that I got no problem letting him get out there for multiple innings. And as Mortal points out, that's a stopper extraordinaire. I love using the stopper in my base game. And this Willie Hernandez with 50 stam can give you 3 innings on the regular there, because he was pitching regularly those sorts of outings for the Tigers, and relievers were just used differently back then. Honestly, I think we could see more relievers used like that today. I think too many guys are one and done innings. We are seeing teams do it a little bit more. Each team kind of has a stopper type guy, but I think there's more guys that could be in this sort of Willie Hernandez, Sparky Lyle, Tug McGraw role from back in the day. But Willie Hernandez, just a brilliant season. Obviously, it's always going to be remembered for winning the MVP and Cy, and so we had to get a Tiger. And the World Series, of course, too. That was the 35-5 start that the Tigers had. Just an amazing year. I was only 3, so I don't remember it, but I guess the Tigers have won in my lifetime because of that. But I want to be alive for one.
I know, right? I would love to be too.
More conscious. I was alive at age 3, but I want to be like, I want to be seeing it and enjoying it. At age 3, I couldn't fully appreciate it.
Exactly. Yeah, that 105 screwball you mentioned, that's a big freaking screwball right there. With a fastball as well at a 75 rating. You know, only a 2-pitch pitcher, so I know he has 51 stamina, and I know maybe some people might say, oh God, he's gonna be a starter, oh boy. I wouldn't do a two-pitch start. Yeah, just that it doesn't quite work like that. Exactly. 70 on the hold runners as well, which is pretty good. But yeah, 1984, like you mentioned, Paul, 80 games, 140 1/3 innings pitched, 1.92 ERA, 7.2 strikeouts per 9, 32 saves, was technically the AL Cy Young and MVP. He was also an All-Star, something Dave Steeb. Led the AL in games and games finished as well. 3rd ever player to win the Cy Young, World Series, and MVP in the same year.
That's
only
incredible.
3 ever to do it. Crazy.
Well, then didn't so Eck did they win the World Series that year too?
Oh,
the year that Eck won both.
It was no, Sandy Koufax and Denny McClain.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. And they lost to Toronto in '92. That's right. The A's didn't even win that year.
Right.
So okay. Anyway, but yeah, he's another one who won MVP and Cy as a reliever, and you know, maybe didn't deserve to.
Yeah, Verlander isn't one of the 3 either.
I know, Dish. We know.
Anyway, there you go. Willie Hernandez from the 1984 Tigers. He is in Perfect Team 24. All right. Next up, let's go to the baseball boom era. And folks, I teased that there might be maybe a phenomenal middle infielder for defense and all that. Ladies and gentlemen, this
more
guy
phenomenal than this.
Oh man, I don't know. This might rival Dave Bancroft a little bit. Maybe I don't know about the bat though, but this guy right here. Oh, this is gonna be a fun card right here, ladies and gentlemen, from the 1976 Baltimore Orioles. It is 94 overall shortstop Mark Belanger. We're not even going to talk about that bat. We're just going to talk straight up about this defense on this card. That is 107 range, 99 error, 92 arm, and 94 turn double play at shortstop. 82 speed, 79 stealing, 77 on the base running. Really good bunt ratings as well. Mark Belanger, probably one of the better defensive shortstops, probably the best defensive shortstop of the 1970s.
Oh, yeah. Far and away, one of the best defensive shortstops the game has ever seen.
Oh, yeah.
And we know a lot of people are more than willing to do as the Baltimore did, which is take a 0 at the bat for the impeccable defense. And, you know, you mentioned Dave Bancroft, who does have a better bat. He's 6 points higher at a 100. But the defense... Now you have another competitor. If you don't have Bancroft, you can go Belanger, especially if you have a sick offense at your other spots and you're willing to take that up the middle defense for the lesser bat. Mark Belanger, he's an OOTP stud over the years. People have utilized his cards. If you pair him with a Brooks Robinson down the line, the left side of that infield defense is just off the charts. So you know what you're getting with Belanger. You're taking the offensive hit, but the defense is unreal.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Right there. And I guess we have to mention the bat at the very least, because I mean it's like front and center on here. 72 BABIP, 14 power, 73 avoid K, 68 contact, 57 gap power, 72 eye, and this was his best offensive season. So, I mean,
we did the best we could for him there.
We did the best we could. We did the best that we could. Sprays weak grounders and fly balls everywhere, apparently so. But man, oh man, pair this up with like a Brooks Robinson card at third, like you said, man. That third base, that left side of the infield, probably the best left side of the infield we've ever seen in baseball history, really.
Yeah, when you talk about two guys like that, I mean, just unbelievable. And, you know, you highlighted there that he had 3.9 defensive WAR in that season. I mean, 3.9 WAR for the entire year is a good season. And for Belanger to do that, and you talk about how often he led the league in defensive WAR.
Oh, yeah.
Just unreal. Just unreal. And, you know, growing up when I did, as the shortstop was changing into more hitters, you know, Cal Ripken kind of ushered that in, and then we had the A-Rod, Nomar, Jeter, Tejada era. And so kind of learning about guys like Belanger was a bit of a throwback. Like, oh, wow, you would have a situation where you would get 2 homers out of your shortstop, but his defense was so unreal that he was seen as still a stud. So, yeah, I think that's a cool era there when you can actually kind of take that offensive hit because the defense is just so valuable. The ball is in play a lot more than too. Like in today's era, you know, somebody like Belanger, I'm not saying that he wouldn't play. Of course he would. He would still be valuable. But I think, do we think like maybe it's kind of like Nick Ahmed? Like I don't mean to, you know, disparage Belanger, but I think Nick Ahmed is probably a reasonable comp there.
Yeah.
But you don't get to play every single day when you have such a bat like that. He's only had 2 full seasons.
Yeah, especially in modern times.
Yeah, because the ball is just not in play as much. So it's more about the era shifting than it is that play style.
Yeah, and we're getting questions about what card type are these. I think these are its. Oh man, we'd have to ask Nico about that.
Yeah, we'll get that covered.
100%. 1976 season, like we said, 270, 336, 326, 1 homer, 40 RBI, 27 stolen bases as well. So he had a little speed there as well. So there you go. Mark Belanger from the 1976 Baltimore Orioles is in.
Small ball guy for you for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely. Big small ball guy, big bunt energy as well. So there you go. Mark Belanger, 1976 Baltimore Oriole is in. Perfect team 24. All right, one more from the baseball boom era coming right up, and you know, a good shortstop needs a good second baseman to pair up with. 100%. I know we had a good second baseman already with Marcus Semien, but I think we got a pretty good one coming up for you right now. Probably definitely one of the best second basemen of the 1970s. Ladies and gentlemen, from the 1975 Cincinnati Reds, one of the best WAR seasons that we have seen in the entire decade, it is 100 overall, Joe Morgan. Joe Morgan, 92 BABIP, 82 power, 100 avoid K, 115 contact, 79 gap, and 120 on the eye. And like a lot of Joe Morgan cards that we've had over the years, very, very good against righties, not so great against lefties. 97 BABIP, 88 power, 101 avoid K, 121 contact, 75 gap, and 121 eye against righties. Oh my goodness, Joe Morgan, good hitter and a good defender as well, and pretty good speed as well.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Joe Morgan, it was always so funny about him, you know, in the Moneyball era, he had so much pushback on it. And it's just so weird because based on what it was promoting at the time, of course, which was, you know, getting on base via the walk as the efficiency, the market inefficiency, he would have been propped up by that. Like if Moneyball had existed in that form where on base was undervalued, a guy like Joe Morgan would have been shown to be seen for the value that he had. He was well regarded in his day, but he's even better when you really think about how valuable that on base was. Dude could get on base like no other, taking the walks. So even though you mentioned the bat comes in a little lighter against lefties, he does still have a 117 eye there, so he should still be able to get on base. Tons of speed. Capable enough defense. The arm's a little weaker over at second, but you can afford that, especially with 96 range, 94 turn double play. And I agree with Captain Gary in the chat. if you either don't have Jackie or you do have Jackie and you're looking for something new, Joe Morgan, at least against righties, can definitely get you going there.
Yeah, definitely. 106 speed, 109 stealing, so he can steal quite a few bags as well. I mean, he stole 67 in that 1975 season. The defense, you know, is really good. I mean, you mentioned the 94 turn double play, 96 range, 93 error, 72 arm as well. Definitely, you know, definitely going to be interesting to see what people do with this card, especially with Jackie Robinson still out there in a lot of teams.
Absolutely. And again, not everyone has Jackie. Maybe some people have had Jackie for a while. They want to spice it up, get something different in there. And I think you're at least considering Joe Morgan against righties.
Oh, yeah.
And then if you don't have Jackie, I'm open to running Joe Morgan against both. Take a little bit of the offensive hit outside of the eye, maybe bat him lower against lefties, but then have him 1 or 2 against righties for sure.
Definitely, yeah. The 1975 season for Joe Morgan, just absolutely incredible. 327, 466, 508, 17 home runs, 94 RBI, 67 stolen bases as well, 169 OPS plus. That translated to 11 wins above replacement according to Baseball Reference, highest among all hitters of the 1970s. The best season of the 1970s according to Baseball Reference. Just absolutely incredible. Led MLB in walks this year with 132, on base percentage, led in OPS plus. It was a 1975 NL MVP, first of back-to-back MVPs for Joe Morgan as well. Man, oh man,
yeah,
what a card.
I mean, that's the thing. He went back-to-back those years. He actually had a higher OPS the following year, but this was a better WAR season, as you point out, by 1.4. So obviously, of course, it's relative to the league. And the interesting thing is it's the defense, and that's why this 75 card kind of, you know, is a class above the 76 card, which is there. They do have a tournament edition card out there for Joe Morgan, but this one obviously brings home the bacon with that defense, the more complete version of Joe Morgan.
Yeah, definitely. In that 1975 season, his best season for defensive wins above replacement with 2 defensive wins above replacement as well. Pretty good, pretty good. So there you go. Joe Morgan from the 1975 Cincinnati Reds is in Perfect Team 24. All right, let's go to our next era, and let's go to the Golden Years era. And we're going to go back to the pitcher's mound for this one. And we have a very interesting relief option for this particular era. We go to the 1960 St. Louis Cardinals for 96 overall right-handed reliever Lindy McDaniel. Lindy McDaniel, 94 stuff, 95 movement, 88 home run rating, 92 pitcher BABIP, and 93 control. Some very interesting splits here. Big ground ball guy here with some pretty good pitcher BABIP, some pretty good control against both lefties and righties. A little more stuff against righties. A little bit more home run prevention against lefties on this guy. Curveball, forkball, sinker combo. Has a little bit of stamina on him too. 29 stamina and 60 on the hold runners.
Yeah, great look here for Lindy McDaniel, somebody who can definitely go out there, give you multiple innings, handles lefties and righties, has some interesting splits there. Against righties going to be a little bit better, but then has that control to make up against lefties, so he stays a bit balanced there. Lindy McDaniel, you know, obviously we got some relievers mixed in here, and a lot of them are from the newer eras, but Lindy McDaniel, one of those guys that was one of those bridge dudes who threw 2-3 innings on the regular.
Yeah, he pretty much was the poster child in this era for firemen of those days. He actually won the first Fireman of the Year award in 1960. The first time it was ever awarded by MLB, which is pretty interesting.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, first one ever. He actually got Player of the Month in June 1960 with like a .74 ERA. Like this dude had a really, really good year. Led MLB in saves with 27 of them back when saves maybe weren't quite the statistic they are today. Went 12-4, a 2.09 ERA, a 1.95 ERA plus, which that's pretty big for the era. 65 games. He made both All-Star games back when they played 2 All-Star games in a season. Finished 3rd in NL Cy Young voting and astonishingly 5th in National League MVP, which I found pretty interesting for this guy.
I did too. I thought that was really, really surprising there. But again, they valued relievers, which is weird though, because as you point out, you know, this is a different era for relievers. There weren't that many, but I guess the ones that were there were super prominent and well regarded. It was a big weapon to have somebody who you could trust if your guy could only go seven innings in a given day, which was known as like being kind of lame back in that era if you only went 7 innings in a start. Yeah, true stoppers, as Mice Forever points out, true firemen, whatever you want to call it. But these guys were coming in and they were expected to finish the game if they came in the middle of the 6th or if they came in the 8th. You were going to go multi-innings. You weren't just like a 1-inning closer. That was very, very rare back then.
Yeah, and this is a young Lindy McDaniel here in 1960. He was just 24 in this season. And this is actually his lone All-Star Game appearance season as well. I mean, he had some solid years later in his career with the Yankees and a couple there with the Royals, but yeah, very, very interesting guy here. Could make some Diamond Tournament rosters potentially as a reliever.
Sure.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. So there you go. 1960 Lindy McDaniel from the St. Louis Cardinals is in Perfect Team 24. All right, you know what? Let's stay with St. Louis for our next card from this era. And you know, you can't talk about the St. Louis Cardinals of this era without talking about the man. Stan the Man. Ladies and gentlemen, from the 1948 St. Louis Cardinals, it is 100 overall, Stan Musial. Look at this bat. 102 BABIP, 110 power, 98 avoid K, 132 contact, 104 gap, and 73 on the eye. But oh my God, those splits against lefties. 111 BABIP, 116 power, 94 avoid K, 139 contact, 112 gap, and 77 on the eye. Holy cow.
He's unbelievable. Obviously, Stan the Man earned that name very much so with his play. By all accounts, a great dude, too. Just the absolute class of this organization and of the league at the time. Just one of the greatest hitters out there. You can see he's going to slam lefties, slam righties. And, you know, usually when you got a lefty bat, the first thing you're looking at is, well, is this guy going to be, you know, a platoon guy? He's actually better against lefties. You might even be looking, you might have somebody that's better against righties, and you're like, same side platooning Musial, you know, when you have all the cards down the line. But right now, I think he's definitely somebody who goes into your outfield right away and handles both sides with ease.
Yeah, and this is the best season of Stan Musial's career by far. I mean, 376, 450, 702 slugging. 702 slugging. That is just bonkers numbers for the 40s.
That's
30,
killer.
Yeah, 39 homers, 131 RBI, a 200 OPS plus, one of just like 40-ish players in baseball history, 40-ish seasons of someone having a 200 OPS plus or more. That's absolutely incredible.
That's truly crazy.
Yeah. Defensively, Stan's not bad. He can play left field, center field, right field, and some first base as well. He's almost fully trained up at first base. For those of you wondering about his height, he is 6 foot even, according to Baseball Reference. So take that as you will. Pretty much, this guy more than likely going to be a right fielder, a left fielder for some people. Could probably play a little bit of right field just because of the defensive shape there and the arm being really good. 76 range, 81 error, 86 arm in the outfield. At first base, he's got 62 range, 70 error, 82 arm, and 63 on the turn double play. In terms of speed, stealing, and base running, I mean, it's there. 39 speed, 79 stealing, and 81 on the base running. And don't have this guy bunt. Just don't. I mean, it's not terrible, but like,
there's a little something there, but yeah, you want Stan to rake.
Exactly.
You know, he doesn't take a ton of walks there with the 73 eye, but everything else is on point. So yeah, I absolutely love what Stan brings to the table, and he's always a great card. You know, when you put out a 100, Stan the Man, and here we are with the Immortal Seasons one, should be taking over lineups the second people pull him.
100%. Yep, 1948 NL MVP. He was an all-star as well. 11.3 wins above replacement according to Baseball Reference. The best of the 1940s. Led MLB in hits, doubles, and triples as well. Missed the Triple Crown by 1 home run in a rained-out game that didn't count.
It didn't count. Wow, that's crazy.
Yep. Missed it by just that 1 homer. Ralph Kiner took home the home run title that year.
Our monster.
With 40. So there you go. Stan Musial from the 1948 St. Louis Cardinals is in Perfect Team 24. Alrighty, next up, let's go to the next to last era that we're going to cover today. Let's go to the rebirth era, 1921 to 1945. Some pretty good players from this era. We're going to go back to the pitcher's mound for our first one. And boy, oh boy, if you really want some stuff from this era, this is the guy you want. Ladies and gentlemen, 1945 Pittsburgh Pirate, Preacher Rowe. Preacher Rowe, 116 stuff, 80 movement, 79 homer rating, 64 pitcher BABIP, 100 control. So pretty much a stuff and control guy. Not great at giving up base hits and home runs, but this guy, if you want someone to get some strikeouts for you, this is the guy right here.
Yeah, it's a really interesting shape there with the big stuff and control, and then a little bit of, issues there in the home run and BABIP. But if he's not putting anybody on and the homers he gives up are solos, that can help. However, again, with that BABIP, you need like a Mark Belanger to hopefully protect him. He can miss a bunch of bats. So, you can see where the implosion potential can come with him on his off days because of the homer and BABIP. But when he's on, he's striking guys out, not walking anybody, maybe allowing an occasional hit. And as long as he can, as long as the homers are solos more often than not, you should be able to get by with Preacher Rowe. So an interesting shape here. He's a good pitcher, I think, for the Dodgers as well, the Pirates and the Dodgers. But a really good pitcher over his days, Preacher Rowe, left-handed starter.
Yeah, definitely. Probably gonna be more of a bullpen guy, more than likely, potentially.
Could certainly see that.
Yeah, with the big stuff there, fastball, curveball. Does have a screwball as well, so he does have a little bit of reverse splits at the very least. With 118 stuff, 81 movement, 80 homer rating, 65 pitcher BABIP, 100 control against righties. 73 on the fastball, 95 on the curveball. And then you have 103 on the screwball. So that's his best pitch right there. 75 on the splitter as well, which is a very intriguing pitch there as well. But Preacher Rowe's 1945 season, a very intriguing one. 14-13 record, a 2.87 ERA, 5.7 strikeouts per 9, 1.8 walks per 9, 138 on the ERA plus. Led the National League in strikeouts that year with 148. Led in Ks per 9 as well with that 5.7 mark, and FIP with 2.65, which is very interesting there. Led the National League in pitching WAR that year, second in Major League Baseball to, I believe, Hal Newhouser that year in 1945, in all of MLB. So there you go.
A lot of good work out of Preacher Rowe. Like I said, often known for being good with the Dodgers, but don't sleep on his Pirates days. This was a great season. As Captain Gary points out, if your team plays in a low homer park, he could be your guy. So the interesting shape will certainly fit some areas better than others. You definitely want to make sure you know what you're getting into with him. If you're playing in a particular tournament where it comes up and it's low homer, low BABIP on the park factors, he can be your guy. You definitely want to make sure you're placing him in the right spots to succeed.
Definitely. Yeah, and you mentioned his Brooklyn Dodgers years. He had a really good one in 1951 with that 22-3 record. That was pretty good. One thing to note about Preacher Rowe, after that 1945 season, he actually was kind of down bad for a couple of years, and that could be more so attributed to while he was coaching high school basketball. After the 1945 season, he suffered a fractured skull in a fight with a referee.
What?
Yeah, he got punched by a referee during this fight, and his head bounced off the hardwood, fractured his skull.
Gosh.
And his pitching sucked in the following 2 seasons. He had a 5.14 ERA the next year and a 5.25 the year after that.
That's absolutely nuts. See, I love when you look up these interesting tidbits here, and sometimes you learn that things went haywire for some guys. That's crazy.
Yeah, but then he righted the ship once he got to Brooklyn in 48. So there you go. Preacher Row from the 1945 Pittsburgh Pirates is in. Perfect team. 24. All right. Our final card from this particular era. We have just 3 more cards to show off to you here today. Comes to us from the, oh man, this guy. Oh man. If you liked Stan Musial, you might like this guy too. Just in terms of the sheer bat that is on this guy right here. Ladies and gentlemen, from the 1939 New York Yankees. Oh, here it is. Where have you gone, Joe DiMaggio? He is in perfect team 24. Whoa, whoa, whoa. 105 BABIP, 112 power, 99 avoid K, 135 contact, 102 gap, and 71 on the eye. Oh my goodness, those splits against lefties though. As a right-handed hitter. I think that plays. I think that plays. 114. 114 BABIP, 121 power, 100 avoid K, 145 contact overall, 114 gap, and 85 I against lefties. Whoo, buddy!
Unreal. Obviously, Joe DiMaggio, one of the greatest of his era. Just a brilliant, brilliant hitter. Really strong defensive season here too, though. So he's going to be able to hold center for you. You know, not at the top of the scale with 94 range, but certainly enough to hold center field. And that bat is good enough that you're going to want to play him. You know, what more can you say about Joe that hasn't been said with regards to his hitting? Just unbelievable. You mentioned this is the first of multiple batting titles for him, and he just put up a phenomenal year. Lefties wanted nothing to do with DiMaggio pretty much throughout his career. Righties didn't fare much better though. So yeah, this DiMaggio definitely making waves, and you know, if you can get him and Stan today, your outfield's going to change big time.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, let's briefly talk about those lefty splits for Joe DiMaggio here, because these are absolutely insane numbers. In the 1939 season, against just lefties, 178 plate appearances, 403 batting average, 475 on base, 773 slugging, with 13 homers, 46 RBI. Compare that to 370 against righties with 17 homers and 80 RBI in 346 plate appearances. Almost as many homers against lefties as he did against righties. Just absolutely crazy.
That's seriously unreal.
Yeah, and he only struck out 20 times that year. And that wasn't even his low point. My goodness. That is absolutely crazy.
That's obviously like the biggest change between now and then is the strikeouts. And, you know, obviously people have evolved on the strikeout to where it's no longer like a red mark against you. I mean, people used to be batters used to be shamed for striking out. And of course, you got the top of the scale guys like Joe D that never strike out. They walk like multiple times more than they would strike out, and it's just a different era. But I love seeing some of those numbers where these guys will have more doubles or homers than strikeouts in a given season.
Definitely. Yeah, and you mentioned the defense as well. This was the best defensive season statistically for Joe DiMaggio. 1.0 defensive wins above replacement, by far his best year according to Baseball Reference. 94 range, 103 error, 95 arms. So this might be one of the best defensive Joe DiMaggio cards I think we've ever had, to be quite honest, in center field. Speed, stealing, and base running, not the greatest. 19 speed, 69 stealing, pretty nice there. 74 base running as well. Bunt, kind of in the middling tier as well. But the 1939 season for Joe DiMaggio, just absolutely incredible. 381, 448, 671 overall, 30 homers, 126 RBI, 184 on the OPS plus. He was the AL MVP that year. He was an all-star, led the American League in batting average, the first batting title of his career. He would have one more the following year in 1940. And during this year, he actually tied Hack Wilson's single-month RBI record with 53 of them in August alone.
That is absolutely obscene. 53 ribbies in a month.
53.
Obviously, you got to have team help on that. You know, you got to have chances, but taking advantage of it, I mean, you know, I got a lot of respect for that. Obviously, being on a good team helps, but Joe D, 53 ribbies in a month is silly.
Yeah, and those overall numbers for the year, that came in just 120 games. He only played 9 games between March, April, and May.
Wow.
So he absolutely went supernova as soon as he got into the lineup in June.
That's killer. That's seriously killer.
It's crazy. That is crazy. Yeah, who batted behind him in 1939? That's a great question. That is a great question. I actually need to find this out real quick. Hang on. Where's their schedule? Where's their schedule? Let's just go to like a random July
game. Yeah.
Random July game. He would have batted behind. Oh, let's say. Okay, he batted between Tommy Henrich and Jake Powell. At least in this particular game against the White Sox.
Jake Powell.
Who the hell is Jake Powell? Okay, in the next game, he batted between Tommy Henrich and Bill Dickey.
Okay.
So that's
Bill
a little
Dickey
bit.
had 105 ribbies that year. Joe Gordon had 111 ribbies that year. George Selkirk had 101, and then DiMaggio with 126. So they had 4 guys at 101 or more with the runs batted in. Just, you know, monstrous offense there.
Jake Powell limited edition coming. I mean,
incoming immediately.
I mean, yeah, we'll talk Jake Powell later. But there you go, Joe DiMaggio from the 1939 New York Yankees is in Perfect Team 24. All right, we got a couple more cards to show off for you from the eras. We go to the dead ball era, and folks, we haven't had a whole lot behind the plate today, but this guy, you know, probably one of the most unique catchers of the dead ball era that really made some innovations at the catcher position during his time. Ladies and gentlemen, from the 1908 New York Giants, we have 99 overall, Roger Bresnahan. Roger Bresnahan, 86 BABIP, 49 power, 85 avoid K, 91 contact, 99 gap, and 115 on the eye. A little bit better against lefties than he is against righties. Defensively, though, very, very good. 92 catcher ability, 96 on the catcher arm. Whoo, Nelly. This guy, pretty intriguing card right here.
Yeah, Bresnahan's definitely one of those guys that I learned a lot more about because of this game. And you know, kind of looked up and just wanted to learn more about some of these dead ball era studs. And Roger Bresnahan, just an absolute monster. Tisuigi points out that he does have that gold out there. This is a very big upgrade over that card here. And just a real complete catcher. You know, going to give you the 92, 96 behind the dish, can run a bit, can hit a bit. Not a huge power guy, but everything else is there. And Roger Bresnahan is an absolute stud. You know, got a little center field. Again, you're probably not putting him there outside of a pinch where he might need to fill in. But the catching ability is what you're really looking at there at 92, along with that big hitting. Going to get on base a ton. 115 eye is big time.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, he can also play a little bit of center field as well. 71 range, 68 error, 76 on the outfield arm. But what really intrigues me about Roger Bresnahan in his career is that he was a speedy guy relative to his position. I mean, catchers, you know, were pretty much an afterthought at the plate during those days. But this guy could hit, he could run, and he could play defense. I mean, 83 speed, 86 stealing, 86 base running. That's pretty darn good. Yeah, 99 sack bunt, 100 on the bunt for hit as well. This guy can get on base. Just fantastic stuff. 1908 season for Roger Bresnahan, a pretty good one, all things considered. 283, 401, 359 on the slash line. 54 RBI on the year. Who cares about home runs? There weren't a whole lot during this era. Good old Roger Bresnahan. I mean, he hit what? How many homers? 1? I didn't need to waste space with 1 home run. 137 OPS plus, 83 walks this year, which led the National League at that at that mark, and actually played a career-high number of games at catcher that year, 139 out of his 140 games. He put on the tools of ignorance, which actually, during this season, he was the first player to wear padding in his catcher mask during this year.
Wow.
Which
Smart.
was pretty good.
So he did you mentioned he had revolutionized the position. Obviously, that I forget who like the first goalie was too in hockey, but also a very smart person. That's like, hey, I don't want my brain to turn to mush from these flying projectiles here, like baseballs or hockey pucks. So yeah, good on Roger Bresnahan there, being smart.
Yeah, and I mean, 1907 is when he really actually began to experiment with protective gear, with shin guards in spring training that year. Debuted him on April 11th, and fans actually weren't happy about that. They threw snowballs at this guy.
Really?
Yeah, for having shin guards on.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. And the umpire actually called off the game because of it.
That's crazy.
I know. There weren't any police at the game or anything like that. But actually, other catchers began to adopt the idea after that. And even though Pittsburgh Pirates manager Fred Clark protested Bresnahan's gear to the league, according to Wikipedia, the protest was denied, and the equipment was approved by the league.
That is so fun. Like, what a weird thing to have such a backlash over. But I mean, you know, you just kind of see that in culture over the years, that different things get this silly backlash. Then you look back on it down the line, you're like, oh my gosh, we thought that catcher's gear was silly. Now it's like they should probably have some more gear because they're still pretty exposed. You know, a lot of guys don't even put their hand behind their back anymore. It's kind of dangling out there, and it gets hit a lot. Of course, their midsection is a little exposed at catcher. There, a cup can only do so much. So it is funny that, like, how dare you protect your knees, you loser, and then they're throwing snowballs at them. So yeah, those had to have been early or late games in the year. You know, there's snow at baseball games. It's just funny that snowballs are the things that we're thrown at.
Crazy. It's absolutely insane. Another actual a real innovation by Bresnahan the year before, he actually developed the first batting helmet in 1907.
He wore the first batting helmet in 07? Wow.
Well, or something like that. Developed it.
I'm sure it was basically just a hat with like a little pad in it too, right? Because, you know, they were probably not high end back then.
Yeah, he developed schematics for a plastic batting helmet after being hospitalized for 10 days after getting hit by a pitch in June of 1907, in which he was unconscious, and a Catholic priest actually read him his last rites.
Whoa.
Yeah. Which is crazy.
That's pretty nuts. And then he played like a decade more after that almost.
Yeah. Although the batting helmet didn't become commonplace until like the 1940s.
Oh yeah. Which is insane that it would take 30 plus more years for that, but I guess not everyone was as interested in protecting their heads.
Yeah, it was crazy. Absolutely crazy. So there you go. Roger Bresnahan from the 1908 New York Giants is in. Perfect Team 24. All right. One more player in the packable set to show off to you today from the dead ball era. And we go back to the pitcher's mound for this one. And let me tell you, those New York Giants teams of this particular era were just absolutely fantastic. And this guy was a big part of it in those early days. Ladies and gentlemen, from the 1888, what am I saying? 1888 New York Giants. It is 100 overall right-handed starter Tim Keefe. Tim Keefe, big stuff guy right here. 123 stuff, 117 movement, 111 homer rating, 86 pitcher BABIP, and 84 control. Some pretty reverse splits here a little bit as a right-handed pitcher. A lot better against lefties than he is against righties in quite a few categories.
Look at that changeup there. I'm blocking it a little bit, but it's a 118 changeup for Chief Keef over here. And he's obviously an absolute monster. Another guy that I definitely learned more about because of this game, as well as Foolish Baseball, as Rock points out. But yeah, Tim Keefe, absolute stud of the era, put up some silly, silly numbers and just had an insane changeup, according to reports back then. And that's why he's able to maintain such a healthy split, even as a right-hander, going to take care of lefties plenty for you. A little bit lighter on the BABIP there relative to the homer and stuff, but if you're not giving up any homers and you're striking a bunch of guys out, the occasional base hit shouldn't really kill you. Chief Keef going to be an absolute monster.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, you mentioned the changeup, 118 rating on that. He's got curveball. He's got a good fastball on him too. A really good stamina, obviously, dead ball guy. 111 stamina, 58 on the hold runners. 35 and 12 in the 1888 season for the New York Giants. 1.74 ERA, 6.9 strikeouts per nine, 1.9 walks per nine as well. He won the NL Triple Crown that year with 335 strikeouts as well, which is just crazy for that time. Led all major leagues in win percentage, shutouts, Ks per nine, and FIP with a 190. Now, this season was very, very good for Tim Keefe because he set a major league record for winning 19 straight in a single season. 19 straight wins in a single season, which was a record that was tied 24 years later, but has never been broken.
And it won't be anytime in this era, that's for sure. Obviously, a different game back then. I think somebody asked how many innings he threw. 434.
434.
Casual 174 ERA. Again, times were different back then because that was only a 156 ERA plus, so it was 56% better than league average, which is still incredible. Don't get me wrong, but you would normally think a 174 ERA would easily lead all of baseball and be like a 280 ERA plus. Instead, it was a 156, and it only led the National League, didn't even lead all of baseball.
Yeah, which is just absolutely insane. Oh man, this was an insane pitcher. Tim Keefe from the 1888 New York Giants is in Perfect Team 24. So there's a look at all the packables that we have for y'all today. But our good pal Nico. Oh, Nico. He teased a little something in the Discord today that you're going to see something that you've never seen before. And that is what we're going to be doing right now. Because, you know, we talked about a lot of these toppers that are going to be coming out down the line. Well, we figured, why not give you a little bit of a sneak preview of what you can earn for completing all the different era tracks. Now, we're just going to show the card art for you. We don't have the stats yet or anything like that, but we can tell you that this is kind of like the end of the rainbow kind of sort of thing. Kind of what to expect.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go ahead and talk about some of the cards that are going to be like Huh?
Yeah, so I just want to explain. These are the guys that if you're collecting throughout the era, the cards over the 4 periods, you'll get these toppers for collecting X number of them over the course of the program here. So this is what we're showing. Each era has a topper, and you can decide to go for those guys based on how you feel about the the track leading up, or based on the card itself.
Alrighty, so let's go ahead and talk about some of those era program toppers, and we start off with Dead Ball, which at the end of the rainbow, Dan Brothers. Dan Brothers. That's a pretty solid name right there. You know, Dan Brothers has also always had some really good cards in Perfect Team.
Yeah, he's definitely one of those guys that when you look back at the era and you see some of the stuff that he was able to do, he absolutely owned the league. Complete stud, triple slash lines, batting average, OBP, slug. He led the league in so many of those categories. In fact, led the league in all three different times. Just one of the best hitters of his era. You know, was a big time power hitter, which is going to be funny because the next thing I say is that he led the league with 8 and 11 homers, but it was a different era. So that was considered a big time power hitter back then. He could run, he could do everything. Dan Brothers was an absolute stud.
Very, very big stud, Dan Brothers. I believe he played for a Detroit team too, if I recall correctly.
He did, the Detroit Wolverines.
The Wolverines, yeah. All right, for the Rebirth era, the topper at the end of this particular track, Joe Sewell from the 1923 Cleveland team.
So honestly, obviously, he's going to be a really nice shortstop here with Cleveland. Joe Sewell, you've seen him on, I think, Boston as well. He's had Boston and Cleveland cards over the years. Big-time shortstop, kind of a do-everything pretty well. Doesn't have, like, one specific carrying tool. But Joe Sewell definitely going to do a lot of damage for you up the middle.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Joe Sewell, had a really good contact hitting year that year. Had quite a few extra base hits. Really good RBI season. Defensively, pretty solid as well. Maybe not the best season defensively of his career, but still pretty solid.
Can play some third too. So it is a shortstop by trade, but if you have a better shortstop than him, and of course you guys will see the ratings down the line, there will be third base eligibility there too. So you can kind of mix and match with Sewell depending on how he fits with your club. No, okay, Buck Cheeks, and just for chat, these are for finishing. This is for the whole program of the era. The toppers for next week, those will be out next week. This is full set if you collect for the entire era.
Yep, and again, for sets 1 through 4.
Every single card from sets 1 through 4, you'll have to collect X number of them to get these toppers by the era.
Exactly. So for the Golden Years era, the topper at the end of this track for sets 1 through 4 is going to be, oh man, this guy right here. Oh boy. Al Kaline from 1955. Mr. Tiger, Al Kaline.
You know we had to do it to him, Dish, of course. Obviously, he's plenty deserving on his own, but as Tigers fans, being able to highlight Al Kaline is a lot of fun. Just one of the best outfielders of his era. Tremendous hitter. One of those guys that does everything at the dish. Maybe not the biggest power guy, but all the contact, BABIP, void K gap power around it. A little bit of base running, nothing crazy there, but a quality defender too, either at center, right. He'll probably have first base on the card too, but you'll be playing him in the outfield for sure. Mr. Tiger's going to look really nice.
Yep, 100%. I can't wait to see that card down the line just because, Tigers. All right. Yeah, for the boom era, the baseball boom era. How's about a pitcher? How's about a pitcher for y'all? It is J.R. Richard, 100 overall from the Houston Astros, 1979.
Just such an underrated player in his era. One of the hardest throwers there was, guy who was literally touching 100 regularly back in that era. Absolutely nasty, just a bit overshadowed in the era. He was well regarded, but I think he should transcend, what he was able to do a little bit more. Just one of the best power pitchers of his era. Kind of had a sad story at the end, died too young, but J.R. Richard was an absolute stud of his day. One of the best pitchers there was in the 70s.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, that 2.71 ERA in 1979, leading the entire league. That's an incredible season. I can't wait to see how that card turns out. 100%. All right, so in the defensive era, at the end of this particular track, you will be getting, if you complete all the stuff, Robin Yount. Robin Yount from 1982.
Robin Yount, one of the best players, of course, of his era in the 70s, 80s, and a little bit of the early 90s there. Two-time MVP. This will be focused on one of those MVP seasons, and it will be a tremendous card that, again, like Al Kaline, has a nice hitting profile. It's not heavily power carried, but everything else is there too, with massive batting average, quality eye, strong defense. Just a great player, Robin Yount. We got the Topps one out there. Then you'll have this one if you don't have that Topps one, or maybe if you do and you like that one, you'll get this one to kind of enhance that.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, this is a 10.5 WAR season for Robin Yount. 9.9 offensive WAR, 1.8 defensive WAR. Tied for the second best of his career, so I can't wait to see what that card is going to be. I mean, 29 homers, 114 RBI, led in doubles, led in hits. Oh boy, that's going to be a spicy card. Spicy. All right, for the power era, we're going to go ahead and take ourselves off screen for this next one because we'd be blocking them otherwise. From the power era, right at the end of the rainbow, it's going to be Troy Glaus from the 2000 Anaheim Angels. Troy Glaus, a very interesting selection here.
Yeah, definitely not a name that would necessarily jump out to folks as like, oh, that's somebody who could be highlighted at the end of a program like this. But Troy Gloss's 2000 season is absolutely off the charts. You know, he led the AL in homers with 47. Big time defender as well. You know, you think of somebody like a Scott Rowland who has all that defense and pretty good hitting. Gloss is a better hitter, but his defense doesn't fall too short of somebody like a Rowland in that era too. You know, he had 40 homers 2 straight years, 2000, 2001. Troy Gloss was an absolute stud. And if you want somebody at the hot corner who's tearing the cover off the ball and picking it for you, Troy Gloss can be your guy.
Yeah, 47 homers, 102 RBI that year, 284 average. Best defensive season of his career with 1.9 defensive WAR. That's going to be a spicy card coming up down the line. And finally, in the modern era, the big topper there for that era program is going to be from the 2014 LA Dodgers. It's Clayton Kershaw, the Claw himself.
Obviously, with Clayton Kershaw, we know the deal with him. Modern era player who's still playing today and still brilliant today, by the way. I feel like he's kind of underrated. We're taking him for granted at this point. He is absolutely incredible. You know the kind of cards that we can put out for Kershaw. So with that 2014 season, it's going to be an absolute monster. There's so many different monster cards that we could have with Kershaw. This one's going to be hot. If you got that silver tops one kind of hanging out for you in silver tourneys, you got a major upgrade coming here with this 100.
Oh man, I tell you, I'm just salivating looking at that 2014 stat line. 21-3, 1.77 ERA, Cy Young, MVP, 10.8 strikeouts per nine, a 1.81 FIP. Oh, that's gonna be fantastic. Can't wait to see that card. 100%. But now we've talked about the era program toppers, how about a little bit more of a sneak preview for a little bit later down the line? Because we also have the major program toppers we'll be teasing out for you here for a little bit. A sneak peek of what you can earn for completing everything. Or at least getting the requisite hitters, the requisite pitchers, the requisite toppers. Yeah. So let's talk about those coming up. And let's talk first about the hitter topper, which we've had some fantastic cards for this guy before. It is Cupid Childs from 1892 as the hitter topper for this program.
Yeah, Cupid Childs, what a great name, by the way, Cupid Childs. Premium second baseman from the dead ball era. Definitely going to be somebody who is, you know, pushing Mr. Robinson a little bit. If you've been riding with Robinson, you know, maybe you stop over with Joe Morgan for a while, and then down the line when you finish out the entire program, maybe you want to head out to Cupid Childs. Now you can get a bunch of hitters here. You can streamline directly to him. Just collect the requisite number of hitters to get Cupid Childs if you want. But he's going to be an absolute monster at second.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, I remember his Perfect Team 21 card was just fantastic. That would be like a must-have card right there. So, and Cupid Childs, you know, he had a big eye during that time period. 443 on base. Can't wait to see the eye on that one. Plus, he was a good defender as well. This is his second best defensive season. I can't wait to see that. I can't wait to see this card. As for the pitcher topper, oh boy. If there was ever a pitching season in the modern era that just makes you salivate and just want it based on the year alone, it is this guy, 2018 Jacob deGrom from the New York Mets. One of the best modern era pitching seasons I think we've had in a long time.
One of the best pitching seasons ever, to be honest. I mean, just what an absolute stud Jacob deGrom is. You know, you can get your top two guys, your top righty and top lefty throughout this program with the Kershaw and the deGrom if you want. Obviously, that card is going to be absolutely insane.
I know. I mean, we're talking like, I mean, he only was a 10-9 record, but he still won the Cy Young with just some absolutely great rate stats and like K per nine stats, like 11.2 Ks per nine, 0.4 homers per nine, 1.98 FIP, a 2.18 ERA plus, a 1.70 ERA. Oh man, I tell you, Jacob deGrom, if he was healthy for that 2021 season, where he finished 7-2 with a 1.08 ERA,
I know.
I cannot imagine how bonkers that would have been.
even with just 92 innings in 2021, Jacob deGrom, I think, was the #6 fantasy pitcher on the year, which is crazy. To have only 92 innings and to be #6, for those that don't play fantasy, that's just incredible to be the 6th ranked starter with 92 innings. But with a 108 ERA and a .55 whip, I mean, that's insane. Obviously, you know, I wasn't going to make the card based off of 2021. Don't worry. He was plenty great in 2018. That card will absolutely bang too.
100%. And if in the overall topper, the topper, I guess, if we want to call it that, the topper for this particular program, oh man, there's no one better for this but Hank Aaron from the 1961 Milwaukee Braves. Hank Aaron.
Hank. Obviously, you know, don't really need to give too much explanation about how great Hank Aaron is. I think everyone knows the deal there. You know, the home run leader for so many years until Barry passed him, and Barry did pass him. He is the rightful home run leader. A lot of seasons that you could pick with somebody like Hank Aaron. We're highlighting the 1961 season. That is the top WAR season for him, where he combines his tremendous hitting with some tremendous fielding to kind of give you that all-around outfield card.
100%. I mean, we're talking, you know, it was a 34 home run year, you know, not his best like counting stat year for that category, but you know, 327 average that year, 120 RBI, led the league in doubles as well. That is going to be a fantastic card. I can't wait to see how that
I just want to say on Aaron there, you know, it's his best defensive year by far, and that's why it is a little bit of a lower offensive season for him. Of course, he didn't really have bad offensive seasons. Low for him is still 63% better than league average in OPS plus. But to make it a more complete card, that's why I wanted to pick 61, so that he could still be a really strong defender for folks too. So keep that in mind when you're looking over the Aaron season. You say, you know, why was 61 picked? It's to give it a more complete card, especially for, you know, the program that you're going to have to complete. This has to be a card that doesn't just immediately run over to DH for you. He has to have some staying power in the outfield.
100%. Yeah, exactly. So there you go. There's a look at a little sneak preview of what will be coming up in later down the line with this program. I can't wait to see these cards, man. I can't wait to just salivate and drool over them on stream. Like, because I will do that.
I can't wait to pull my first one. You know, I just want to get one going and see where I can use them, whoever it is that I'll get. Hopefully I can pull one in a spotty. There will be spotlight packs. They are going to run for 24 hours this period. I know it's normally 48. We've had 1 or 2 that have been 24s. This will be a 24. So get your spotties when they come out if you're interested. There's also going to be a ton of missions that are going to kind of set this up, give you some groundwork to kind of get the ball rolling on things. And then maybe if you're completing those missions and getting some packs, you can kind of see where do you want to go with everything. And the cards are indeed live, so you can already be going out right now trying to pull these Immortal Seasons cards. And again, these ones won't be available for a while, neither will the last 7 that you showed, but the first 14 that we ran out, those are all going to be packable right now.
100%. All right. Man, that I can't wait to pull some of these cards. If I ever pull one of these cards, that'd be fantastic. I mean, I got a Rainbow Historical pack that I'm saving for Call Your Shop for tomorrow night, so
well, there you go.
I'm hoping. Here's hoping. All right, so there you go. There's a look at some of these cards from tonight. Before we sign off for the evening, let's go ahead and give a shout out to our weekly leaderboard champs from the first PTCS 5 period in the weekly leaderboard rankings. Daily Iron was won by M the Bow last week with 159 points, a 2-week streak. Daily Bronze went to Jim Bowden 1 in the Strong Badia Tires with 131 points. Daily Silver went to MJ Tebow and the Madison Mohicans. He's won that for 2 weeks straight now, 122 points there.
I've had multiple silver runs ended by MJ Tebow. I'm very familiar with that username. Very strong player.
Nice. Daily Gold was won by Kaz Ken and the Connecticut Cardinals with 124 points. Daily Diamond, not Jeff LTN this week. An upset, a shocker. It's Ricky Vaughn and the Eternia Skeletors with 103 points right there. Daily Open. Well, there's Jeff LTN. There he is with 175 points.
Streak broken though, right?
Streak broken.
the Viffers had like a 48-week run in one of the, was it Diamond? Is that why
Yeah.
Laertes said that? Yeah. So somebody dethroned him, but so he decided to take over the Open instead.
Yeah, I know. He's been all over the place this cycle. He had the 14-week streak or something like that to open up the cycle. Had a 4-week streak just recently, so just absolutely incredible. Daily wildcard went to Aster 31 in the Minneapolis Millers with 130 points last week. Weekly tournaments went to Aster 31 as well, and with 117 points. Double duty right there for Aster. Perfect Draft Daily went to Scannon 755 and the Norwood Diamonders last week with 128 points. Lydora and Midgar Materia leading the way with 61 points. So guys, thank you so much for tuning in today. Let's go ahead and get ourselves back on screen here for today's episode of This Week in Perfect Team. This is a fun set, Paul. I can't wait to see how this progresses moving forward.
Yeah, I'm really excited. Obviously, putting a lot of great cards into the game here. A lot of premium guys that you can get for your ball clubs, for your tourney teams at the high-end levels here. So I think it's going to be really exciting to kind of infuse a bunch of great new guys in. We'll have the next one coming out in a couple weeks, set 2. That'll feature the first toppers as well. But now you have a couple weeks to kind of get your cards going, see which sort of track you want to follow. Again, you can do multiple eras if you want. You can focus on one specific area. You can focus on hitters or pitchers. We weren't trying to make it overly convoluted at the beginning as some sort of like crazy brand new mission structure. Just want to make sure people understand it's pretty streamlined, pretty easy. You can kind of figure out what you want to do, but when something's brand new, it's a lot of info. We just wanted to make sure that it was being interpreted well.
Yeah, look, I'm still proud of my flow chart. Oh, hang on. Whoop, I messed up there a little bit. There we go. Blah. Gotta love studio mode on OBS sometimes. Like, I'm still proud of this.
It's a good flow chart.
I'm proud of this flow chart. All right, I'm gonna show off the flow chart one more time because we have to. So there you go, the Immortal Seasons program flow chart right there.
You didn't feel as good about your PTCS one,
no?
Right? I know you wanted to improve upon that one, and I think you did that here. The only thing that you maybe could have done was, you know, individual colors for each era there. But I think this covers it. It explains to you where you're at with the 4 different sets and how the toppers are going to work. Again, it's a lot, you know, with the different colors and all the sets. But once you kind of see it playing out, it's not going to be that hard to follow. You're going to be able to pick and choose what you want to do with guys. Really straightforward. Yeah,
I mean, I put like actual effort into that particular flow chart. I'm just proud of it. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Paul, for joining me today to kind of discuss the cards, discuss the program. That's fantastic stuff we have going on.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
All right. Cards are in packs now, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. I will see you back here tomorrow night for another edition of the Friday Showdown. But until then, for Paul Sporer, I've been Robert Tomlinson, DishNet34, signing out. Have a fantastic rest of your Thursday.